On a dark and snowy night in a dark winter, welcome, friends, to the Thunderdome in Swanton, Vermont, where the lights are bright for the first Franklin County matchup of the 2021 winter sports season, pitting the Hornets of Enosburg Falls against the Thunderbirds of Missisquoi Valley. Both of these programs coming into this contest without a win. They're both just 0-1, both of them with road losses. The Hornets to Mount Abe 50-43 and MVU to Middlebury 67-63. Both teams with a lot of hope and good reason for that hope heading into this season. And before we get into this broadcast too much farther, we would like to start by recognizing our sponsors. Northwestern Orthopedics, Collins Pearly Sports Complex, JC Image, Handy Toyota, and Barrett Ford. If your business would like to become a sports sponsor, contact staff at Northwest Access TV at 802-782-8676. Moments away from tip-off, and we'd like to formally welcome you. I'm Wesley Kempton alongside Bryce Batchelder for this contest between, again, the Thunderbirds and the Hornets, and our opening tip controlled by the home team. And here come the Thunderbirds. Patrick Walker, a senior captain, has the handle. Enosburg starting off in a man-to-man defensive set. Walker guarded by Owen McKinstry, one of the leaders of this Hornets team, as Unwin goes back outside to Walker. They're going to keep working between those two. Unwin and Walker are going to be names you'll hear quite a bit, as the former gets the first bucket of the game and the latter gets the assist. Another name that you're going to hear quite a bit this evening and also for the next couple of years for the Hornets, Devin Gleason, a sophomore who was a big part of Enosburg's incredible run to the state finals last year when the Hornets fell just short. Gleason, with his lay-in a moment ago, officially has double digits in the season, as he had 9 points in their opening loss to Mount Abe. And coming right back, a three-pointer for another Missisquoi senior, Sean Power. Working it around the top, a three-pointer for Shea Horrigan, no good. Bouncing out, and a loose ball picked up by Gleason over to McKinstry, whose three-pointer goes a little bit long. Corralled by Walker, who's bringing the other way for the home team. Unwin surveying his options. Power to Unwin. Poked out. Shea Horrigan unable to retain possession, but a good assertive defensive play. This Missisquoi team has incredible experience. Unwin is a senior. This is his third year on varsity. Walker, likewise.
I'll get the camera.
Also, as we try to figure out a microphone issue for Bryce Batchelder over here. Also in the starting lineup for the Thunderbirds, Caleb Johnston and Cole Buta. They're all seniors. For Enosburg, what jumps out at you when you check out the roster is that there are only two seniors in the entire roster. One of them, McKinstry, is a player who will seldom be on the bench this evening. Walker looking for the second free throw now. And it falls. So an early 5-point advantage for the Thunderbirds as we are almost 2 minutes into this contest. Gleason, who has the ball, the lone scorer for the Hornets. Guarded by Power. Gleason, a quick pull-up. And another rebound for Walker. That's two for him thus far. Power right near that sideline. Goes inside to Unwin. Unwin just towers over everybody else on the court. Power way behind the line. Thought about it for a second. And the opposition is going to respect Power when he pump fakes that deep. In fact, Enosburg has a particular memory of Sean Power's long game, let's say. We'll get to that in a moment as Walker with a great feed down low to Caleb Johnson. And it is a 9-2 lead in the early going for MVU. A fast start to this one. Bryce, I think we've got your microphone squared away.
Here.
So
I'm here.
So once again, welcome. And our first time out, a great start for MVU on this, again, their first home game and our first Franklin County matchup of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think these are the two best boys basketball teams in the county. So really excited that we don't have many in-county matchups this year because of the short season. So I'm really glad that this is the one that we happen to get. One thing that I've noticed, even in this early play, is that Enosburg is making a point of showing off of screens where Gabe Unwin is the one with the ball and getting the ball down low. They're making a point of double-teaming him and trying to contain him as much as they can. He's super athletic. He can score, so they'll need some other Thunderbirds, I think, to pick up some of the scoring if Enosburg is successful in containing him.
Well, that distribution has not been lacking for MVU in the early going. Already 4 different scorers have brought about their 9 points. As McKinstry back to Gleason. MVU in the zone now as McKinstry going over to the right side. And a quick pull-up from Horrigan. No good. The long rebound handled by Butar. Walker, a little bit of a do-it-all for you kind of player. He'll rebound down low and out-muscle just about anybody. You see him handling the ball up the court oftentimes with the Thunderbirds. Has a quick outlet pass, and here come the Hornets. Unwin, great transition defense. They have to kick it back in transition, and again, a three-pointer just out for Shea Horrigan. He has had 3 near misses. Power trying to find an easy basket. Instead, they're going to set up the offense. As I mentioned, Walker, a little bit of a do-it-all-for-you sort of player. I don't think you'll see many possessions this evening where the Thunderbirds will not at least have him touch it once.
Thunderbirds a little bit stagnant here on this offensive possession. Unwin trying to get something set up at the point. Got a little bit more movement.
Johnson found Butza, and his bank shot from just inside the free throw line is good. It's a 9-point advantage for the home team. Gleason guarded by Sean Power. MVU back in the man set now. McKinstry has a little bit of space, not able to hit it. Normally this Enosburg team, a good shooting team, and once they get hot, be careful. But thus far they've missed all of their long ball efforts. In fact, the only basket was a drive from Gleason. And the rebound corralled by Gavin Combs. Combs was Enosburg's leading scorer in their opening loss at Mount Abe. He had 10 points. In fact, Combs and Gleason combined for 19 of Enosburg's 43 points. Here's Gleason, quick release. You love that stroke, and you know that he's going to get hot at some point. But just off on that one.
Gleason and McKinstry, I think, are the two guys that Enosburg really need to get going. There's still lots of time left. I know they're down 9, but they, like you said, Wesley, they have that outside shooting. They can easily get back in this game if they can get some of those to fall, especially from Gleason and McKinstry.
Well, a team that likes three-point ball as much as they do, it's just a couple of possessions, all that it takes for them to come back from this sort of deficit. Here's Horrigan. Nobody around. Might as well sink one. That was from about 3 feet behind the line. And just like that, it's only a half dozen deficit. 2 to play in this first quarter. Neither team has made any substitutions, though they both have a couple of players checked and ready to come in. Walker with a quick fade and a quick bucket.
Really
He's
nice.
got 4 points now.
A really nice fade there from Patrick Walker, turning to his left, guarded over to his right. But Enosburg is really trying to crash the middle on defense as soon as MVU gets an entry pass into the key, trying to make MVU become outside shooters in this game.
And both teams, it seems, making a point to be quite intense in their interior defense, though a little bit too intense outside as Sean Power called for the foul on Gleason. The 3 substitutes coming in for the Hornets: Nathaniel Robtoy, Daniel Antolon, and Blair Archambault as well. For Missisquoi, Hazen Luneau, who had a dozen points in the T-Birds' opening loss at Middlebury, has checked in as well. Gleason with a defender on his hip goes in. A little contact and a generous roll as he was able to get some good touch inside. 4 points in the early going for Gleason. The lead back down to 6.
Gleason was Enosburg's energy guy off the bench last year, trying to provide that energy in the starting lineup. So far, as their leading scorer, he's doing that. Needs a little help, though.
Yeah, his emergence in the second half of the season, a big part of Enosburg's run to the state finals.
And I think one of the most fun players in the county to watch, too.
Well, it's amazing when you see a sophomore who has the ability that he has. And when you watch these guys when they warm up often, there's certain guys that you pay particular attention to, and he didn't miss a lot of his long ball efforts when there weren't any defenders out there. And so, again, a player of his talent, he's going to warm up at some point.
Absolutely.
You can't let up. And certainly MVU knows that, as you mentioned. McKinstry and Gleason are the two big impact players for the Hornets, and I'm sure that those were the two who were on the chalkboard before this one started as well. Inside of a minute, 14-7 game. MVU on top. Also checking into the contest now, Ian Digby, number 11. A nice drive, but the finish not there for Blair Archambault. He was able to get all the way up to the rim, but just missing on that left-handed finger roll. Another substitution ready. Sean Power got a breather, but seems to be checking in, and a few extra steps there. Turnover, and Power back in now.
Good defense by Blair Archambault when Ian Digby tried to turn baseline. Cut it right off, forced him into that travel. I think Ian Digby didn't quite know what he was going to do when he picked up the ball. Tried to do a couple fakes, dragged the pivot foot. Really good defense by Archambault.
Closing seconds of this first quarter, Enosburg trying to hit double digits. McKinstry working it around. No doubt eyeing the clock. Under 5. A quick step back and a desperation heave. No good. An offensive rebound just before the buzzer, but Silas Kane's put back not in time. And so after one quarter, it is MVU 14, Enosburg 7.
MVU's been switching back and forth between their zone and their man-to-man. Really smart call on that last possession just to go zone, to try to force Enosburg into a bad three-point attempt, and it absolutely worked.
As we get set for this second quarter of action, some stat updates for you. It's been a pretty clean first quarter, just 3 total fouls, 2 of them for Enosburg, 1 for MVU. Tried with the microphone issues that we had at the start of the game. Bryce, who is not only color commentary this evening, but also statistics director, missed the first couple of possessions. So out of memory, we're trying to update the statistics as much as possible. We've got our stat sheet.
We got some points.
1 point shy. So that's 13 out of 14. That's more than 90% accuracy, at least.
We'll double check with the book at halftime. We'll fact check.
But I'm accurate at least when I shared those team fouls. As McKinstry somehow not drawing a foul, but an amazing job weaving through the middle and getting a lay-in.
Slipped right between MVU's 2 defenders down in the paint. I mean, I thought for sure he was going to get stopped on that drive.
Luneau inside. You could see a bit of panic as he really got hounded by more than 2 defenders. Every time he turned, there was a new defender in his face, and somehow the Thunderbirds able to retain possession off of the jump ball. I say somehow. I know how jump balls work. I should clarify. Somehow that was all that it was after that incredible Enosburg defense. Walker up top again, finding Johnston. Inside to Unwin with 2 defenders on him, and before the shot, he was fouled on the floor.
I mean, like I said in the first quarter, Enosburg is making Gabe Unwin, their focus on defense. As soon as Unwin touched the ball down on the block, 3 Enosburg defenders were right around him.
And again, at this point, he's got a lot of varsity basketball experience, and so I'm sure that he's figured it out. He can't really put the ball on the ground without them getting in.
And I think, Ethan Kreller was sort of the focal point of their offense last year, so that's where defenses could focus. Now Unwin becomes it.
McKinstry had a steal and a finish, and then coming right back, Silas Kane with a steal and a finish. And Enosburg, after trailing by 7 in the first quarter, have closed the gap to just 1 point in less than a minute and a half of the second quarter.
Enosburg on an 11-3 run.
Those are the sort of statistical deep dives that earn a paycheck, Bryce.
And what a paycheck it is, Wesley.
Gas station peanuts on you, right? Well, right on cue, Unwin got the ball inside, tried to put it down on the floor once, and what happened? A turnover for the Thunderbirds. Enosburg with the opportunity to take the lead. And that explosiveness of their offense on display without the long ball, I should say. It's been their defense.
That's sort of I shouldn't say surprise because their defense is good, but we expected the three-pointer to get them back into this game.
A scrum down low. It was picked up by Nathaniel Robtoy, who was fouled. And we've already had as many fouls in the second quarter, in less than 2 minutes of it, as we had in the entire first.
That foul on Hazen Luno, his first, team second.
McKinstry with an assist, finding a cutting Daniel Antelone, and Enosburg does have the lead now, 15-14, with a half dozen to play in the second quarter. Walker was trying a lob cross-court pass over to Unwin, and some frustration there that they weren't on the same page.
Well, with Enosburg sort of shutting down Unwin right now, I think Patrick Walker sort of has to take over the game here for the Thunderbirds.
McKinstry, a nice bounce pass over to Antelon. They work it back inside, and the finish for Silas Kane not quite there. Unwin outside. See if he can get a drive with some momentum. He cannot as he crosses over to Luneau. Back to Unwin, who's fouled again before the shot. The good news for Unwin, who's now been fouled 3 times, is that that's now 5 team fouls for Enosburg, so they're closing in on free throws.
Enosburg foul on number 3, Nathaniel Robtoy, his first, team's 5th.
Walker, quick head fake as he goes back outside to Johnston. Johnston driving into the left and is able to get the shot off, and he's probably going to get a couple of free throws for that. Kind of a desperation heave on the drive. He knew that there was contact, and well played. But his the strap on his mask has broken. And a quick replacement there from Matt Chevalier, the JV coach, a former MVU basketball legend in his own right, and also the chief mask repairman.
Now, Matt played with my brother when they played at MVU, and Matt was always full of energy, quite the hyper player, but incredibly good. And I think he's just as hyper as a coach. And I've said that to him, many times. I think he agrees.
Well, his energy was infectious for his team. The MVU JV team were trailing by 5 points in a fairly low-scoring contest against Harwood. In the third quarter, they were down 22-17. They came back and won 29-26. So a good win for Matty C's JV team. Before the shot, yep. But it was an MVU lane violation, so it's Enosburg ball.
The good news on that foul, though, is that Enosburg now has 16 fouls. Next time they foul MVU's going to be in the bonus the rest of the half. And MVU only has 2 team fouls, so this could be a pretty big advantage for MVU if they can take advantage of it.
Now, that said, we can do the foul check. Enosburg doesn't really have any individual player in foul trouble thus far. Gleason with a putback in the air, but no good. And you see him smack his hands in frustration. Gleason's getting some good looks that would be good for him at least, but he's been just off. That said, he's still got 4 points for the Hornets. And with MVU in his zone, watch out for him to get just a glimpse of daylight. Loose ball foul on the Hornets. It'll be their 7th team foul. As they had possession, there will be no shots. It's an offensive foul on Blair Archam,
Wyatt Boyce.
Called on Wyatt Boyce.
And Wesley, to your point earlier about individual fouls, Daniel Antolon does have 2 fouls, but not a starter for Enosburg.
And another mistake for the Thunderbirds as some poor communication. Cole Boutah's pass inward towards Walker. Walker wasn't looking. We've seen that a couple times now for MVU. 3 turnovers already this quarter alone.
And I think what we're seeing is early season basketball mistakes that under normal years, when they've already had 15 games or more under their belts, they would have had these issues ironed out.
Quick release, and that corner 3 from Gleason gives the Hornets a 4-point lead with 4 to play in the second quarter.
And Gleason leading all scorers with 7 points.
Boutah, the senior forward, over to Walker. Walker calling for the screen from Unwin. And McKinstry's called for a foul. Walker's going to go to a line where he's got a pretty sure hand. Sean Power checking back in, relieving Cole Boutah. I mentioned Sean Power, who hit a 3-pointer earlier in the contest, and how Enosburg keenly aware of Power's long ball ability. First free throw up and in for Walker. Power hit a buzzer beater that defeated this Enosburg team. And he's got some poise in the clutch. He hit a buzzer beater at halftime in MVU's opening game against Middlebury. At that point, MVU was leading by 13 points after his buzzer beater heave. And yet Middlebury was able to come back. And again, Missisquoi lost by 4 points in their opener.
Nice
Gleason,
block.
what a spin, not able to get it. Enosburg somehow scrapping around to keep this possession going.
So here's the thing on that last defensive possession. MVU with some excellent interior defense and less than stellar rebounding, which kept the possession alive for Enosburg.
And speaking of stellar rebounding, Gabe Unwin with an easy putback, tying the contest here at 18 apiece.
Which I believe the last 4 points for MVU were the first ones they've had this quarter.
Correct.
So they went over half the quarter scoreless.
And you see the reliable players that you'd expect, Walker and Unwin leading the charge. That one almost a turnover. And what a heave. A little flick, I guess, not even a heave. Caleb Johnston. It looked like he was sort of just the right place, the right time. And
but that was a thread the needle pass.
He knew that he might as well shoot it.
Confidence, baby, confidence.
Enosburg, meanwhile, you can see they're trying to slow it down a bit as that recent surge of energy was benefiting the Thunderbirds, who were able to come back, and they now lead by a pair. Walker almost got a hand in to get that steal. Gleason inside off his own foot, and going outside to Wyatt Boyce.
Coach Walker asking his team to hustle for those loose balls.
Everybody was standing around. Boyce just had to take 2 steps to get it. McKinstry able to draw that foul on Power. He knew exactly what he was doing there, moving in with that shoulder to draw contact. And that's just the 3rd team foul for MVU, but the 2nd on Sean Power. He's not going to return to the bench. He'll stay outside based on the fact that he's staying outside without anybody near. MVU seems to be in the zone out of this inbounds play. Gleason at the top for the Hornets. Working it around. McKinstry calling out the shots. And he's now leading the charge as Rob Toy over to Horrigan.
There's just not a lot of movement going on here for Enosburg. Anytime someone has the ball, they're yelling for their teammate to try to set a screen and get something going here.
McKinstry to Gleason. Gleason sets, fires, sinks it. 10 points now for the sophomore. A full 25% of the points in this contest have been scored by Devin Gleason. McKinstry with a quick feedback and a buried bucket for Shea Horrigan.
His second three of the game.
Back-to-back long balls for the Hornets. We talked about watch out if they start to get hot.
There it is.
Walker finds Johnston, and now to Power.
Man,
Again, poor communication.
That entry pass is just killing them this second quarter.
There was just no heads up for the Thunderbirds there. Unwin, without anybody near, took a second and was able to draw the foul, not get the bucket, but he'll go to the line shooting 2.
Yeah, MVU got lucky right there. Unwin kind of sneaking on that weak side. Nobody for Enosburg noticed that he was there. But that entry pass for the Thunderbirds has been so tough for them in the second quarter, trying to get the ball from the three-point line up to the high post around the free throw line. They've either been bad passes, maybe too hard and off the chest of players, or the
just
players who are getting
lobs.
Yeah, or the players getting the passes aren't paying attention. They don't know the ball's coming to them. So that's something the Thunderbirds are really going to have to clean up at halftime.
Unwin muscles in a free throw. Couple of subs in for the home team. Luke Fuenier, number 10, and lining up down on the near side. We've got the official checking out a bracelet, I think, or the wristband being worn by Nathaniel Robtoy. It looks like he's got tape around his left hand. I'm not sure what the official is calling out there, but he quickly turned around.
One more note on those entry passes. Also credit to Enosburg's defense that they know that that's where MVU is trying to go, and they're just kind of cramming that free throw line high post when that pass comes in.
Good touch on Unwin's second free throw. Well, to Enosburg's credit, they're more heads up on defense than MVU is on offense right
Absolutely.
now. Gleason. A quick feed, but good defense preventing Robtoy from getting a shot off, and a shot forced up by Gavin Combs, who's going to go to the line shooting a pair.
MVU's doing well rotating in that zone, getting the help side defense. The only problem there is that they're leaving the middle open when they do that. This time Enosburg able to take advantage of it and find Gavin Combs cutting.
In for the Hornets, Daniel Antolon and also Blair Archambault. Presumably they'll finish off the quarter. And off the front iron, a loose ball, chased down and reeled in by Johnson. Johnson, guarded by McKinstry, an incredible defender. Unwin over to Fuenya, back to Unwin. 5 seconds. Step back. And no good. Offensive rebound, pushed back, and a foul just before the buzzer.
Good hustle by Butad.
Great awareness.
Most players, I think, probably would have said that was the last shot of the half and sort of given up on that rebound. But great hustle by Butad, not giving up.
And as if it's not odd enough for these players to play basketball without any fans, might as well shoot a free throw without anybody around
right.
you, too.
Well, and the other big thing about this foul, that's Gavin Combs' third personal foul.
And Enosburg lucking out as a pair of missed free throws at the end of the quarter means that it is a 2-point halftime lead for the Hornets, 24-22. Before we take a halftime break, once again, we'd like to thank our sponsors for this evening's contest: Northwestern Orthopedics, Collins Pearly Sports Complex, JC Image, Handy Toyota, and Barrett Ford. If your business would like to become a sports sponsor, you can contact the staff at Northwest Access TV at 802-782-8676. And also, speaking of JC Image, they are, of course, the proud sponsors of our Player of the Game T-shirt giveaway. We've got the Showtime Player of the Game. Bryce, you've had the honor of giving one away. You called the season opening game a week ago today at BFA. And so this will be my first time choosing a recipient of a T-shirt. In the early going, with Enosburg leading and 10 points to his name, you got to say that Gleason is the man to watch to win a T-shirt tonight. But who else would be getting your attention?
Well, I mean, I think on for BFA's end, Patrick Walker and
MVU.
Caleb Johnson, or MVU's end, sorry. Patrick Walker and Caleb Johnson each with 6 points. So
Cardinal sin.
I know. Especially as an MVU grad. That's the big problem. So those are the two guys so far to watch for MVU. Gabe Unwin with 4 points. So, I mean, still not far from kind of tying those guys, especially Enosburg is really putting a focus on shutting him down tonight. So, we'll see what happens in the second half. But I agree, Devin Gleason so far, I think the front runner.
But with it being such a close game, 24-22, it could easily go either way for either team. And certainly it would not be a stretch of the imagination to expect that we might see somebody perhaps unexpected emerge in the second half as a hero who makes the difference in this contest.
And what I will say is that this game, I'm glad that we essentially cover both of these communities. Last week in our first game, BFA Milton, we don't cover Milton. We were there to cover BFA, but Milton won by about 30 points. And so we had an existential crisis on the air trying to figure out, do we just have to give it to a player from the school we're covering, or can we give it to a visiting school? We ended up giving it to a Milton player. But I'm glad tonight we're safe from that decision. We cover both of these teams.
It would be, an exceptionally unusual turn of events if somebody from outside of Franklin County were to be the recipient of the Showtime Player of the Game T-shirt. But I think as you mentioned, what a treat it was for the Milton player. And that's sort of the spirit of the thing. And again, our thanks to JC Image for sponsoring this promotion. For these high school players, it has been such a tumultuous 12 months, really. And this season, which we didn't know if it would occur at all. And so even if it's not a Franklin County player, just good to give some recognition for these young athletes who are finally having some semblance of normalcy, the word that we we keep seeking. And, it is so unusual to walk into an empty gym and you folks who are watching at home, you can see how the bench, the seats are laid out in the sidelines, staggered 6 feet apart. It is, again, to repeat the oft-repeated word, it is unprecedented. But it's good to do whatever we can for these players to give them some recognition and appreciation for their efforts in giving us a return of athletics. And for a lot of us who are at home and still keeping our circles small and on lockdown, what a treat it is to have this slice of Americana with a Friday night basketball game between two Franklin County teams.
I agree. No, that's well said, Wesley. We've sort of all been waiting for the word for winter sports to happen, wondering if they are happening. And while there's still certainly a risk that not just these teams have to bear, but I think the entire community needs to work together to keep things under control so that we can still let these kids play over the winter. It's good to see them out here playing.
For those of you who are big fans of Franklin County sports and looking for other ways that you'll be able to watch these athletes playing in the near future, tomorrow is going to be a very busy day on Northwest Access. We've got 3 live sporting events, 2 of them coming from the Highgate Arena. Girls hockey at 2 p.m. tomorrow. Stowe will be playing against the MVU girls. And at 7 p.m., Milton will be playing at MVU as well, almost like 2 home teams as Milton plays their home games at Highgate Arena. Also tomorrow at 7 p.m., Burr and Burton. Girls hockey will be playing at Collins Purley. BFA girls, always a treat to watch, and we've got Mark Needleman and Mike Skeels on the call for that contest, so definitely one that you'll want to tune in for. And as always, you can find the live stream information on our Facebook page. And if you don't already, make sure you like and follow Northwest Access TV on Facebook. Also, looking up ahead in the next few days, on Monday there is a girls basketball contest at BFA St. Johnsbury crossing the mountain, and they'll be taking on the Comets. On Tuesday, also in the BFA gym, the BFA Bob Whites will be hosting Union 32. That contest tips off at 7:30, and Bryce and I will be back for that contest as well. So that's a look at your upcoming games. Northwest Access, 3.5 minutes till we start half number 2. I'll set the microphone down, give your ears a break for just a little bit, and back for coverage of the third quarter right after this. Welcome back for continuing coverage of this Northwest Access special broadcast of Franklin County boys basketball. It is MVU and Enosburg, and as we get ready for the third quarter, the Hornets leading 24-22. Bryce, we're able to straighten out the stat book, and a couple of points totals that we gave you that were a bit inaccurate. Who are the leaders through the first half?
Yeah, so thanks, Wesley. So leading all scorers for Enosburg, Devin Gleason has 10 points. Shea Horrigan also chipping in 6. Owen McKinstry with 4. For the Thunderbirds, Gabe Unwin, who we had incorrectly said 4 points.
Well, this is a fun turn of events, and, I threw you under the bus for getting a couple of stats wrong. We're not going to throw anybody under the bus, but some confusion here at the start of the third quarter that Enosburg was starting with the ball, and then at the desk they said that it was supposed to be Missisquoi ball, and so we're going to pretend those 6 seconds did not happen. And
I feel 6 seconds younger, Wesley. What are you going to do with all this extra time?
Some Inception type. The top's still spinning.
I'm going to read scores is what I'm going to do.
Thank you. So you were saying.
Gabe Unwin, we had incorrectly said 4 points. He actually has 6. Patrick Walker also has 6. Caleb Johnston with 5.
How about a steal from Sean Power, ripping it out of Gleason's hand and extending this possession for the Thunderbirds. Walker driving in and drawing a foul. If it's on McKinstry, that might be McKinstry's 4th. Or 3rd, but we'll see. It could also be on Gavin Combs. And yes, Gavin Combs called for it. and it's his fourth.
Yeah, McKinstry only has one personal foul right now, but Gavin Combs is the guy already in foul trouble. He was the one who got that foul called on him as the buzzer went off in the first half.
So in the last 30 seconds of action, officially, Gavin Combs has been called for 2 fouls, and it's unlikely we'll see him through the remainder of this quarter, as Silas Kane, the sophomore, who's had a pretty productive game thus far, has checked in.
But still takes away some of the Enosburg's interior defense with Gavin Combs on the bench.
Well, right. You've got a sophomore, Silas Kane, now matched up against Gabe Unwin, and we'll see what sort of impact that plays in the rest of this game as McKinstry just furiously working his way through that Missisquoi press and drawing a foul.
And man, Cole Buta played that press perfectly until that last moment. That was almost just a perfect defensive stand there for Buta, but just kind of got behind McKinstry and went at him just a little bit too much to draw the foul. If he had just backed off a little bit, it would have been great.
Well, it's no surprise, really, but as we are just 30 seconds into the second half, you can already feel the intensity is up, that both of these teams are playing with a greater sense of urgency. And
this is the game that we wanted between these two teams. I mean, like I said, I think these are the 2 best boys basketball teams in the county, and this is what we wanted to see.
And McKinstry got bailed out there. It was an errant pass stolen by Buta, but then Buta jumped his feet after having set himself, and so a travel gives the ball right back to the Hornets. We'll see what they can do with this free opportunity.
Yeah, he doesn't like the call, but it was the right one. He dragged his pivot foot a little bit.
Missisquoi.
Yeah, that's also a travel.
And Missisquoi was in the zone there. That's another thing to keep an eye out as Enosburg heats up. Will Missisquoi go more towards man than zone? Johnson over to Buta. Inside, a hard pass to Unwin, and looked like he might have shuffled his feet as well, but he got fouled before. And he had a chance to travel, and so that's going to be a foul on Kane.
And that's his second, so it seems like guys who are guarding Unwin right now kind of picking up some of the fouls.
There's a bit of a trend here, and they go right back to Unwin, seeing if they can draw a foul. They do. I don't think it's going to be Kane that time. It looked like that one was going to be Ethan Hagaboom. Indeed, his first foul. But already, we've played just over a minute in this third quarter. And with the added 6 seconds that never happened, it feels like so much longer. But already 3 team fouls for Enosburg, and they've all been players fouling Gabe Unwin. Misses the first free throw. Unwin misses the second, but an offensive rebound for Caleb Johnson, and here's a deep effort, no good. Unwin spiking that one down rather than grabbing it, and he's going to be called for the loose ball foul.
You know, MVU's had lots of chances at the free throw line. They are not shooting it particularly well tonight. Kind of some wasted opportunities here.
My apologies there. That foul was not on Unwin. It was on Buta, his third. And right you are. Had MVU connected on all of their free throws, they'd be up by a half dozen right now. As Gleason step back, no good. Rebound for Unwin.
When I particularly think about these free throws that Unwin just missed, and then the free throws at the end of the half that Buta missed both of them.
Power trying to get some space from Gleason, and an errant pass. Again, another turnover from Missisquoi. I think you were completely on the money, Bryce, that these sorts of mistakes that we're seeing, particularly on the offensive end from MVU, we've seen so many passes thrown away. These are the sorts of things that you would see in December.
Yeah.
And these are the sort of kinks that have not been worked through because of this altered season, as Gleason in transition puts the Hornets back up by a pair.
Yeah, and I think also, I mean, a disservice to MVU that their game Tuesday was canceled against Virgin. So, you know, I mean, they haven't played in about a week now.
Good quick move down low from Hazen Luneau. Just one dribble and a turn, and that's just sort of textbook low post play from the junior, who goes to the line seeking the N1. Again, Luneau had a dozen points off of the bench against Middlebury.
The Enosburg foul is on number 20, Ethan Hagaboom. His second, team's fourth.
Luneau, the bank is open Friday nights at 8 o'clock. Who knew? McKinstry, look at that speed as he did a quick head fake and got all the space he needed to bring it across the timeline. Gleason can finish with either hand, pulled back to the left and was able to get another. He's got 14 by my count.
Yep. Enosburg's only points so far of this second half.
And half of their points in the contest. Some good dribbling from Power. Just trying to find Unwin on the elbow. Makes a move to go inside, but missing. And Luneau with an offensive board, fouled on the floor.
Looked like they could have called a foul on Unwin's shot attempt. Looked like he might have got hit in the hand, but you know, it's one of those calls where technically it's a foul, but also it wasn't super hard. So also not going to complain that they didn't call it for the sake of us watching.
Well, you know, the officials are calling a good game, and
they are.
And I never want to make any remark about their cognizance of the pace of the play, because the officials, that's not something that's should be in their realm of concern. That said, this has been a very choppy start to the third quarter, and I think we're in agreement. It was a good no call there. Enosburg up by 1 as McKinstry goes inside the paint. No whistle as he kicks back, and a deep bank shot falls for Nathaniel Robtoy. Another Enosburg three-pointer.
That was a straight line to the bank, so you could call that online banking.
Oh!
Nailed it.
Well, let's not do that again.
Thank you all for listening to my final game here on Northwest Access TV. Enjoyed my time.
Walker waiting for something to develop. They're working it around to Unwin.
Nice
Great
curl by
play.
Unwin. I mean, got the defender right where he wanted him, curling across the key. That as soon as Gabe could just turn that corner, defender was behind him.
And how about Hazen Luneau taking a charge? He had tried to take a charge on the previous possession from McKinstry, and there was no whistle. It then resulted, of course, in the three-pointer from Robtoy. And this time, Luneau knocked down, and you could just sort of see the pep in his step as he ran back, delighted to have got that call.
And again, we're in the same situation that we were in the first half, with Enosburg with 6 team fouls compared to MVU's 2. So again, if MVU can start hitting their free throws, this could be a huge advantage. But if they're going to keep missing them like they were, it's sort of moot.
An easy bucket inside for Unwin, the assist from Johnston. If MVU is able to find Unwin that far inside, it's going to be easy buckets for them.
And that gives Unwin double digits tonight, now with 10 points.
I should note as well that he was in double digits at Middlebury, 16 points in the opener for him. Walker was MVU's leading scorer in that loss at Middlebury. He had 25 points.
He had a great game.
Has been pretty quiet in this one.
But it's a good sign for MVU though that Enosburg really shut down Unwin for a long time in that first half. That especially coming out here in this second half, that he is getting the looks that he wants. Hasn't been able to get all of them to go, but that's okay. He's actually getting those looks that he wants now. Looks like he's starting to get going, and so that could be the difference here for the Thunderbirds. But still looking for some other players here to kind of start picking up some scoring. I know Patrick Walker has 8 points, but been a little quiet here in this third quarter.
Recent substitution in for the Thunderbirds, Matthew Curtis, number 15, with the Karate Kid headband.
MVU's got to stop trying to do those lob passes. That's killing them tonight.
Gleason kicking back towards Robtoy. Robtoy over to the right side, and another three-pointer falling for Shea Horrigan. I believe that's 3 for him.
3. Yep, he has 9 tonight.
And that's at least 7 3-pointers for the Enosburg team. Inside pass for Unwin. Taken away by the Hornets. McKinstry, a one-handed skip pass over to the corner and saved by Horrigan. Here's a 3 for Gleason, and it falls. And Enosburg is up by 6. The long ball starting to fall for the Hornets. Again, if my count is correct, that's 8 team 3-pointers for Enosburg.
Yeah, I mean, so the thing about this game is that when MVU got out to that big 9-point lead at the start of the game, it was actually going down low that got Enosburg back into it. But now the 3 ball is putting them ahead, and that's sort of, like you said, Wesley, I mean, what we've been waiting for all night, Enosburg to get hot. So this is sort of a big moment here for MVU, whether they let this game get away from them or whether they shift their defense a little bit, start guarding the 3-point line a lot more, even though Enosburg can hit the 3 well outside the arc, so MVU has to extend their defense a bit. But MVU now, I mean, they just don't have a lot of room for error. When they get those looks down low, they really have to make them, and they really have to start hitting their free throws to stay in the game here.
It's interesting how the pace and the perception of control in this contest has shifted so dramatically. And another turnover for MVU. Good outlet from McKinstry. Gleason's pass almost stolen, and somehow the Hornets keep it and work it back up top. You know, there was a good chunk of this quarter where it felt like MVU was starting to take control, and now you see the visiting Hornets up by 6 points and looking more and more confident as Gleason has his shot blocked by Unwin.
Basketball is a game of runs. Enosburg is making their run right now, so the question is, can MVU stop it and make a run of their own? But huge credit to Enosburg's zone defense on that last possession, really cramming the middle and shifting well and getting that trap in the corner that forced the turnover.
Good ball movement from the Hornets as McKinstry, who is very selective about his shots, knocks down another one, and it's a 9-point lead for Enosburg. So we've seen a complete reversal. MVU had the early 9-point advantage. They're now trailing by 9 and almost looking rudderless here as Leno goes up top. And a 3-second inside violation. Leno going back to the bench.
And now you also have to especially start thinking about if MVU had been able to hit their free throws. That they'd only be trailing by 1, I think, right now.
That was Shea Horrigan going inside. McKinstry going back outside to Shea Horrigan. Some miscommunication there. Is a bit crowded up top. McKinstry's going to reset it. Chad Lovelet calling out a play from the sideline. McKinstry spinning around, going outside to Horrigan. Off the back iron, and believe it's going to be a foul on Silas Kane, and if so, that'll be his 3rd, and it will put Gabe Unwin. It won't put him on the line, excuse me. That's Enosburg had possession, but it is in fact the 3rd foul on Silas Kane.
So one of the adjustments I think MVU has to make on defense is, you notice Enosburg is setting lots of screens up top to try to get their players open around the 3-point line. MVU has been going under the screens, giving Enosburg a lot of space to be able to get those shots off. I think the adjustment MVU needs to make is start trying to fight over the screens to cut down on that space that Enosburg shooters have and either make the shots a lot harder or prevents them from taking the shots altogether.
Patrick Walker seemed to have that 6th sense about when it's time that he needs to step up a little bit, and he was able to go in and draw the foul. Unwin with an offensive rebound on the missed free throw. Going outside and no inside look.
Walker.
Unwin from outside. Big three-pointer for the Thunderbirds. Under 10 seconds. Gleason coming the other way for the Hornets. Trying to draw the contact. No foul.
We will get a foul called, I think, on Enosburg. I think on Nathaniel Robtoy.
Yeah, I think Matthew Curtis fouled on his rebound. You can see such a fiery player is Matthew Curtis when he gets hyped up. He's a player that I would not want to try to out-rebound.
I don't think we saw him at all in the first half.
We did not.
A little surprised.
So MVU making it a trend here of...
I was just thinking, we don't normally see so many free throws without any other players on the court, and now we're seeing that at the end of 2 quarters in a row. I mean, I don't know if that was a prop bet somewhere that we could have put down, but here we go.
I should note for anyone who may have been alarmed by those comments that we didn't put any money down on this game, nor would we, had the opportunity presented itself. Curtis sinks a couple of free throws and a big break for Missisquoi. 5 points in the final 30 seconds to close their gap to just 4. But Enosburg in the driver's seat as we head to the fourth quarter, 40-36. It's sort of, as we've mentioned, in a game of runs, it's anyone's guess. But despite Enosburg leading by 4, they have 9 team fouls. MVU has just 3. Now, if MVU keeps missing their free throws, that won't matter.
Yes.
But it could be a huge storyline as we get ready for this fourth quarter.
Absolutely. And real quick, thanks to some of my friends for texting me, Matthew Curtis has had some injury trouble, which is probably why they're managing his minutes a bit tonight, saving him for the second half. But, yeah, I mean, you said it, Wesley, that the free throw line is a huge opportunity right now for the Thunderbirds, and they have to convert here. And they've already, I think we've estimated probably 8 free throws, that probably more at this point, that they've missed. Game would be totally different here, and they'd be in control if they'd made those. So if that's something that they can start doing here in the fourth quarter, this could be the difference for them. But also Enosburg, I mean, they got to clean up their defense here. But MVU was at their best when they were trying to get the ball down to Unwin, down in the post, and he was drawing fouls. Started to go away from that. MVU's having trouble with their passing tonight, especially they're throwing some lob passes either across the court or down low that they're just not on point, and Enosburg is taking advantage. But for MVU on the defensive side, they've really got to guard the three-point line.
When McKinstry gets momentum, he has to be the fastest player on the court.
He is so hard to stop.
Blur, and they couldn't stop him. They just fouled him. Waiting to see who that foul is on, and it is on Cole Buta. That's his 4th. McKinstry able to get that first free throw to fall. And only 1 of 2 from McKinstry as Unwin pulls down another board. Walker finds Power. Power being guarded by Blair Archambault, and Unwin decides to just pull up. A good look, but no good. A loose ball and a jump ball or a foul. I think it's a loose ball foul that's going to be called on Buta, and I think he is done.
Oof. Unlucky there.
That's, earlier in the game there was that one loose ball where you could see Missisquoi coach Matthew Walker, who was frustrated that none of his players were going for it. Buta did it exactly as you wanted to. There was a ball on the ground. He dove for it. And as a result, he is done for the evening.
And he's been the big source of energy tonight for the Thunderbirds, really working hard. But sometimes when you're kind of that energy guy doing the dirty work, you get called for a lot of fouls, and that's what happened here tonight. So Curtis in for him. Gonna have to spend some more minutes there. One difference, though, in this quarter, Sean Power sat for most of the third quarter with a little bit of foul trouble. So that does add a three-point weapon for the Thunderbirds if he can get some open looks. But again, Enosburg's defense doing a great job against them right now.
And an offensive foul being called. I think that's going to be on Nathaniel Robtoy. And that's his fourth. So we're starting to see foul trouble. That's now 10 team fouls. It was an offensive foul, but from here on out, MVU is going to be shooting 2. And Robtoy is getting a breather as Ethan Hagaboom has come in. Another junior. We alluded to it earlier. There's only 2 seniors on this Enosburg team. Cam Lovelet we've yet to see this evening, and of course Owen McKinstry. McKinstry over to Antolon. Up top to Hagaboom, and now McKinstry off a Hagaboom screen. Not a guy, McKinstry, who you'll see take that quick one-step pull back, but still, he's a guy you've got to fear at any moment the ball's in his hand as he tries that running jumper. No good, and a good fight for the rebound. Kane was not able to hold on to it, and here comes the Thunderbirds. Caleb Johnston leading the charge.
You said Owen McKinstry is a senior. The good news for Enosburg is that Devin Gleason is only a sophomore, so you got 2 more years of him.
And from Gleason's perspective, as Unwin just hits another driving lay-in. Good news for Enosburg as you think about the future with Devin Gleason is that next year, MVU will not be pitting Patrick Walker and Cole Buta and Matthew Curtis and Caleb Johnson and Gabe Unwin and Sean Power. Those are all seniors who are going to be gone this year. So you think of how these 2 programs are looking going forward, and that brings us back to at the start of the broadcast, we talked about a lot of hope for both of these programs because of the young team that Enosburg has, and especially a sophomore like Gleason, who was a big part of their postseason run last year. They've got good reason to be optimistic in this shortened 2021 season. And MVU, because of the experience that they have, even though they haven't had that same postseason success, they've got a really great and experienced roster who you wouldn't be shocked to make a postseason run.
Well, and that's the thing for MVU. Enosburg's window is a lot longer right now in terms of being able to make runs in the playoffs. MVU's window is this year. So they've got to make some noise. Now, we don't know what the playoffs might look like this year as Owen McKinstry hits another 3. That puts him in double digits with 11 points tonight. But now is the year that MVU has to sort of make their run if they're going to, normally would say end up at Barrie, but I don't know if that's actually happening this year.
A lot of unknowns, but in the immediacy, we've got a good contest here. We know that, as McKinstry's 3-pointer gave Enosburg again a 6-point lead, and there's no rush from their senior speedster, but he's going to try another 3-pointer. That was a heat check and bounced around, and wide open down low, Ethan Hagaboom somehow found himself with the ball and nobody between him and the hoop. He put it in, and the Hornets are up by 8.
Right time, right place. Enosburg happy about it, and MVU a little unlucky.
But then coming back the other way, Hagaboom fouling Hazen Luneau. And Luneau's going to go to the line shooting a pair.
I got an anonymous tip that it's Luneau. Going to put the emphasis on the
more of. Now, a totally unrelated bit to share, but as long as we're emphasizing it as Luneau.
Luneau.
Did you know that the bird, the loon, can't walk?
I did not know that, Wesley.
Well, glad everybody has learned this. Their legs are too far back. They're built for swimming. Here's an offensive rebound for Unwin. Forced it into Walker and stolen away by the Hornets. And a travel. We were waiting for the whistle there as a full head of steam from Blair Archambault as he drove in, and we'll see if MVU is able to capitalize. The turnover battle has been favoring Enosburg significantly, but still 5 minutes to play. A lot can happen here. Power guarded by Gleason, and
those entry passes
just threw it right to Hagaboom.
MVU.
Several times, especially with the entry passes to Unwin, you have a player like Unwin, and you'll see that Missisquoi perimeter players will often, candidly, just sort of aimlessly throw it up because he's so talented that he's able to go up and catch it. But the problem is that a lot of times when you throw it without that real sense of direction, it makes it easier for the defense. And speaking of the defense, there is nothing that they could do there. That great entry pass from the out-of-bounds play to Gleason, who gets another bucket, and Enosburg is up by double digits now.
Well, I mean, it's so obvious. MVU, Unwin is the guy to run MVU's offense through. The only problem is that Enosburg knows that, and so they could just concentrate all their defense on Unwin. I mean, you're not going to see him on just one-on-one matchups very much in the night as he pulls up. That three-pointer is off.
And the rebound for Silas Kane of Enosburg. Just over 4 to play in this final quarter. And with Missisquoi down by 10, they are in need of the tide to turn a little bit. Unwin called for a foul there. His first. The line is Silas Kane. Misses the first. Unwin with the board. If Unwin doesn't have a double-double, he is close. Sort of got his own gravitational pull inside. Walker with a quick release, and that one's going to fall.
Yeah, there we go.
Thunderbirds needed a basket, and a three-pointer is nice for them.
That's what MVU needs right now. They need to be setting screens on the outside to get Patrick Walker and Sean Power open from the three-point line to get back into this game.
Gleason, whose poise is really beyond his years, player just never really seems to be rushed. And good defense from the Thunderbirds. It was, however, off of, I believe, Power's foot. So it'll be Enosburg inbounding. McKinstry. Skips it very far back to Gleason, and how about that steal? And Walker's called for the foul. Bryce, how do you feel about that call?
Not so sure about that one, Wesley.
That was, from our perspective, that looked like textbook defense. That he was where Gleason didn't expect him, and just
on such a big play too.
And no real surprise that Gleason hits the free throw. I guess the real surprise there was that he wasn't able to swish it, bouncing it off the back iron.
And that's Gleason's 20th point of the night.
Unwin, another rebound. An 8-point contest, 3 minutes and change. Walker. Over to his right, finds Johnson. Johnson getting a high screen from Power. Pass to Walker in the near sideline. Up top to Power. Thought about the shot, drives in. The floater off the glass is good.
Good move by Sean Power. He did have a little bit of a window to put that three-pointer up, but Devin Gleason kind of closed it pretty quick. Sean Power recognizing Gleason coming up with a little pump fake and able to get that floater in. So nice move from him.
Gleason back at the line after being fouled by Sean Power. Power now has 3. And the team foul tally has almost been all knotted up. 9 team fouls for MVU.
And on that Sean Power drive there, you can almost think about it like in football, an option play, where his first option is to pull up from that three-pointer, but he has to recognize where the defender is and if he's going to have time and enough space to get it off. And if he sees that he's not, to do the pump fake and try to drive in. So a good read there on Power's part.
A read option. Well done.
Nice.
Well, oddly, we've seen back-to-back missed free throws from Gleason. Unwin inside with that, let's call that a Euro step. And he's going to go to the line shooting 2.
I know we don't have the like the dotted line rule like they have in the NBA in the circle, but that seemed like a circle call that they made, that Unwin was sort of already in the air and sort of, I think the refs figured he has the right to try to come down.
And we're not sure. Unwin, I think, might have been scratched. And with any blood at all, there's going to be a stoppage while his wound is dressed and addressed. And I think Matt Walker, coach of the Thunderbirds, is just going to take a full timeout.
You know what? While we're in timeout, you gave me a little trivia tidbit. I
about the loon.
Yeah. I also learned an interesting fact today. Would you like to hear it?
Is it about waterfowl?
It is. Did you know that loons cannot walk?
Oh.
I learned that today.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Tell me more about that, Bryce.
I cannot.
Well,
as long as we're talking about fouls. You know?
Well, with a couple of seconds left in this full timeout for the Thunderbirds, and still a close contest, 49-43. If things hold, Enosburg up by a half dozen, and if results hold, as they say, I think our halftime prediction would remain.
Yes.
Gleason, who's got 20 points, is certainly the leader in the clubhouse. But if not him, a couple of big shots from McKinstry were certainly key to the momentum shifting in favor of the Hornets.
Yeah, McKinstry has really kind of come alive here in this second half. I mean, it's sort of like you said earlier, Wesley, that McKinstry sort of picks his spots to take those shots, and he was being pretty selective in that first half, but the second half he's kind of letting it go a lot more. Now in double digits with 11 points, and some pretty big three-pointers here.
So a quick clarification of why Luke Fuenier is the man who sunk that free throw. Unwin's scratch had not yet been thoroughly bandaged by the end of the timeout. And so as a result, he was not able to go back into the game. So Luke Fuenier was the substitute replacing the shooter. And a wise substitution for the Thunderbirds as they were able to get a couple of free throws from him. Fuenier's going to immediately go right back, sort of the sharpshooter off the bench, and Unwin has checked back into the ballgame.
Played his role and got MV back within 4. So, I mean, just under 2.5 left. This game is not done by any stretch here. And props to MVU. They were just down by double digits, crawling their way back in here to try to make a run in the last couple of minutes.
And I think it started by taking back the pace. They had done a couple of fouls and stopped the clock. And they came out of that free throw situation in full court press as well. Nobody getting the rebound, however. Gleason following his own shot. And a loose ball picked up by Sean Power. Good rebound for him.
Yeah, I mean, the MVU's putting on the full court press, which, I mean, they need to do right now to try to force turnovers. But if Enosburg beats the full court press, MVU has to know how to get back where they need to be to set up in the half court defense. And that time it just didn't happen. There was lots of confusion.
And it's rare that you'll be able to set up when you have McKinstry, who is the one bringing it across the timeline, because he's got so much speed that he doesn't give you the opportunity to set up at all. Meanwhile, Gabe Unwin's going to go back to the line shooting 2.
And really unlucky bounce for Patrick Walker on his layup attempt. I thought for sure that was going down. He's gotten unlucky a few times tonight.
And another Enosburg player gone. Gavin Combs has fouled out. I say another. That's the first Enosburg player, but the second player we've seen fouled out of tonight's contest. So Gavin Combs, with 1:37 to play in the fourth quarter, has fouled out. Gabe Unwin has a chance to bring it back to a 2-point game. You know, so often, Bryce, it's the cliche, you could hear a pin drop. But without any fans here, there have been some moments in this game where I think it's true.
I agree. Especially those free throws at the end of the second and the third quarters.
It wasn't nerve-wracking enough.
Only person on the court, and the room is absolutely silent.
Unwin was only able to convert 1 out of 2, and MVU bailed out by the fact that outlet to Gleason was slightly off target, so he had to pull back.
Man, MVU's defense in confusion right now.
And Enosburg showing no rush.
Yeah.
A foul's going to be on Power. That might be, that's 4 or 5 on him.
4 on Sean Power. So let's give some sort of the foul situation. So for MVU, Sean Power has 4. Everyone else is in good shape. On Enosburg's side, Nathaniel Rob Toy and Ethan Hagaboom both have 4. Silas Kane has 3.
Well, Rob Toy on the near side of your screen, he's number 3, lined up between Luno and also Caleb Johnston.
And that free throw put Shea Horrigan in double digits. He has 10 tonight.
His first non-3-pointer. And missing the second, Unwin with another board.
So MVU has time, but they do need to be pushing the pace a little bit here.
Walker over towards Johnston. Johnston back to Walker. Took 2 screens and pulls up inside the 3-point line. No, he was just beyond
that. Oh.
It looked to me like he was inside, but called a 3-pointer. And
MVU
the Thunderbirds, they're not going to debate that call. They're now trailing only 1 with 40 seconds to play. McKinstry playing cat and mouse up top. Shea Horrigan going inside, fouled by Unwin. That is the guy you want to commit a foul. That's just the second for Unwin. Or was it a timeout before?
Well, they called a timeout. Enosburg called a timeout.
Okay, Bryce. If you are the coach of MVU, you're trailing by 1. You're going to be on defense from this out-of-bounds play. What are you telling your team? Are they going to foul right away, or do you try to force a trap? What do you do?
Yep. So I think obviously guard the inbounding pass pretty aggressively. Try to force Enosburg to make the pass into the backcourt, and then try to trap. If Enosburg gets it beyond the half-court line and can start to set up their offense, then you need to foul. Try to keep as much time and hope they miss their free throws. But I think MVU's sort of in that point now where any possession that Enosburg has, go all in on the full court press, and as soon as they cross half court and can start to set up their offense, you foul.
Well, and likewise, Lovelet. I'm assuming, obviously, we know McKinstry, he's always the inbound passer. Would you assume that he's going to be telling McKinstry thus not to pass in the backcourt if he can help it?
Well, I mean, I think you want to try to get the easiest pass you possibly can. I'm sure that what they're going to try to do is
I'll correct myself. Sorry to interrupt. Nathaniel Robtoy is going to be doing the inbounds, not McKinstry. So maybe they wanted the shorthand of McKinstry to receive it.
And here's a little change that I would make. I would actually try to put Unwin on the passer out of bounds. Try to get the tallest guy that you have blocking the view of the guy trying to pass the ball in. They left him wide open.
And Gleason is going to go to the line. Walker thought that he cleanly had the ball. He did. The foul was from behind on Gabe Unwin, his second.
And these are the strategy questions that I think change a little bit different because Vermont doesn't have a shot clock. If they did have a shot clock, strategy I think would be a little bit different in a one-possession game.
Gleason rims that one in. Another point for him. Well, you can see the situation at home. There's 32 seconds to play. Enosburg up by 2. And Gleason has missed a couple of free throws. I think that's his third miss this quarter. Unusual for such a sure-handed shooter.
With 20 seconds, MVU doesn't have to just take the first open look they get.
Walker inside, floats it and gets it to fall. The clock is still ticking.
Yep, they could be a little bit patient and wait till they got a good look.
McKinstry weaving his way around the defenders, gets past 3 defenders. And Lovelet calmly calling the timeout. Officially 4.8 on the clock. And Walker, a senior who has shown that sort of poise even before his senior year. A guy who just knows how to come up with a big bucket. You remember against BFA last season, he had those clutch free throws.
Yep.
And likewise, they got the ball to him. He knew exactly what to do with it. Went inside and sort of no hesitation at all from the senior Walker.
Yeah, I mean, and down one possession game, down 30 seconds, as I was saying, MVU didn't just have to take the first look that they got. They could be a little bit patient, try to run the clock down as much as they could to give Enosburg less time and actually get a good look. And Patrick Walker did that. Now, on Enosburg's side, I'm actually not sure I would have called that timeout because MVU's defense was nowhere close to being set. And I think Enosburg probably had a chance to get a decent look at the buzzer to try to win it. But the advantage here calling a timeout, obviously they get to set up a play, which I think is what Coach Lovelet was thinking. And I am certainly in no business of questioning Coach Lovelet's call because they went to the state championship last year. So I will defer to him.
Well, and as we, a moment ago you were talking about the equivalent of like a read option. If you have a guy like Owen McKinstry, my coaching philosophy with a guy like that would be get it in his hands.
Yep.
And he's a good enough shooter, or nobody's got the defensive ability to stop his first step. He can go in and theoretically draw a foul. But 4.8 seconds. We'll see what Enosburg does. The inbounds. A quick hesitation and the shot no good. Hey, let's play a few more minutes of basketball, shall we?
Hey, I'll take that bonus basketball.
I think as long as we've had this season where we're getting such a shortage of play, we're going to take all the extra action that we can get. It will be a 4-minute overtime period. 51-51 is our score. And even though we are not officially at our the end of the contest, nonetheless, we'll take this opportunity to once more thank our sponsors: Northwestern Orthopedics, Collins Pearly Sports Complex, JC Image, Handy Toyota, and Barrett Ford. If your business would like to become a sponsor, I'll tell you the number again. It's 782-8676. That's 802-782-8676. Your company can contribute to this coverage of local sports on Northwest Access TV.
We all love overtime games. What I'm especially thankful right now is recently Northwest Access TV has partnered with NorthwestVTSports.com to start a podcast about Franklin County high school sports. And this past week's podcast was all about hockey because those were the good games going on. And I know next to nothing about the local hockey scene. So I'm just glad to be able to talk about basketball this week.
Do you know more about local hockey or loons?
It's a tough one. Did you know that local hockey teams don't walk? They skate.
A tip to start the overtime, and this time it is controlled by the Hornets. Not sure if there's any indication from that. The opening tip of the contest was won by the Thunderbirds. And Enosburg wanting to make the most out of this first possession. They go over to Gleason on the far side. Gleason got a little bit of space from Walker, but he can close distance in a hurry, so Gleason instead opted to pass it over. On the right side, it's Shea Horrigan being guarded by Power. McKinstry. Good job by McKinstry to draw 2 defenders and a travel. Interesting call. I guess it must have been before the pass inside. Because as they went inside, it looked as though Silas Kane didn't have possession yet.
Yeah.
So somehow
Yeah,
we must have been unable to see a pivot foot slide, I suppose.
Right. But pretty good defense there by MVU. They got their rotations and helped defense down for that one. Still seeing going under the screen. I wish they would change that a little bit. And man, that same pass that's been giving them trouble all night long.
And they got lucked out. Kane was, that was Rob Toy was able to get a hand on it, but threw it down on the end line. Walker to Unwin. Luno giving the screen to Unwin, who pulls up the dribble, goes to the left side. Sean Power being guarded by Gleason. Up top to Johnson, inside to Unwin with 2 defenders on him. He got the shot off after the foul, but that was a rare entry pass,
yes,
seemingly a rare one that wasn't, again, just an aimless lob.
Yep.
And yet still, Unwin had to jump up between 2 defenders and somehow able to grab that one.
I mean, we've said it all night. Enosburg has been concentrating their defense on Gabe Unwin. But also, nice call by the ref that time to call it before the shot, to say it was on the ground. That was, I think he was right on that one. Obviously, doesn't totally matter because Gabe's still going to be at the line to shoot 2. They're in the double bonus.
But with that foul, Nathaniel Robtoy has fouled out. And so Enosburg will be without him, their second player to lead this contest with fouls. And the first point of the overtime period, a free throw from Gabe Unwin.
For Enosburg, Ethan Hagaboom also playing with 4 fouls. For MVU, Sean Power has 4.
And good job by Walker to tip that one and keep it alive. They work it back to Unwin. Thought about driving, but instead wisely pulls back. And we see Luke Fwenyer getting his first non-free throw action of this contest at the free throw line to Unwin. Unwin with a quick move and able to get that one to fall. He looked like he wanted a foul as well. Probably could have had one, but nonetheless, he's got the only points in this overtime, and MVU has a 3-point lead.
Yeah, and Unwin now has 19 on the game.
He has started to assert himself. Obviously, his rebounding has been superlative.
Finished the first half with only 6 points. So really kind of taking control here in the second half for MVU. And props to both teams. Both teams had huge deficits that they had to overcome tonight to force this turnover. Enosburg in the first quarter and then MVU in the fourth quarter.
Luno, by the way, had the rebound in the other end. Get the opportunity to say the name accurately as often as possible. Unwin looks like he either wants to burn a lot of time or get a lot of momentum. Almost threw that pass away to Walker.
Yeah, tough to pick up your dribble right there. MVU is content to slow things down, and only a minute and a half to go, up by 3.
And for Enosburg, Shea Horrigan found himself a step behind Caleb Johnston, and Johnston knew that he had him in a bad position, able to draw the foul.
That was one of those Chris Paul type of drawn fouls where you get in front of the defensive player but slow down to make the defensive player run into you.
And good touch at the line for Johnson.
MVU now hitting their free throws when they need to.
They've got 2 of 3 in the overtime period. Make that 2 of 4, but a lane violation
we've seen.
I think they might have both been on Caleb Johnston.
On Johnston, yeah. But now makes it a 2-possession game for the Thunderbirds, so a little bit of a cushion, but I mean, still lots of time for Enosburg. Minute and 20. They can definitely shoot their way into the lead here, get a couple quick threes.
And certainly with a player like Gleason. Kicks it back to McKinstry. Over to the far side to Horrigan. Horrigan getting the high screen from Hagaboom. And back again to the near corner. Gleason had a second to look, but a foul. I believe Walker fighting through the screen is called for it. And indeed it was the 3rd personal on Patrick Walker, and it sends the sophomore Silas Kane to the line. Well, here's a good welcome to the show moment for Silas Kane, a sophomore with his team down by 4 in overtime, and banks in a free throw to cut it to just 3. for MVU now that they are no longer on offense. The sure-handed Luke Fuenier is back on. They're doing an offense-defense substitution with Sean Power and Luke Fuenier.
I think there's another lane violation called on the shooter, but Enosburg just called a timeout. Well, let's give you some scoring totals here for Enosburg. Devin Gleason leading all scorers in the game with 21, Owen McKinstry with 11, and Shea Horrigan with 10. For MVU, Gabe Unwin with 19, Patrick Walker with 16, Caleb Johnson also with 6.
Well, pretty good start to the season for a lot of these players. Walker with 16 points in the night, averaging over 20 through the first 2 games. And Unwin likewise, he's now averaging 17.5 on the young season.
Which is not easy to do in high school.
Well, and it's a real testament to Unwin, how he's developed as a player. You look at how reliable he is defensively, that he has not been in foul trouble at all. Walker almost looked flustered defensively, had 2 players in his face, and a poor play from Caleb Johnson, caught himself in the air, and McKinstry was fouled before missing that one. And
so I'm not saying at all that was the wrong call. I think it was interesting, though, that the outside ref is the one that made the call and not the one who was next to play. But again, not saying that was the wrong call to make. There was plenty of contact.
And I'm sure Johnson would love to have that play back. He, again, just found himself in the air and needed to throw it somewhere. And assertiveness, not surprisingly, from Owen McKinstry, who was there and able to get himself to the line. By the way, it was the 4th foul on Patrick Walker.
Potentially big in this last minute of play.
And McKinstry missing the second free throw. Walker with the rebound. Almost got a carry there, but able to keep the dribble down. Over to Johnson. 40 seconds to play. Johnson to Power. Power trying to call out a play. They're just weaving up top. Walker being guarded by McKinstry. And Matthew Walker, the coach of the Thunderbirds, calling a timeout. I love the Patrick Walker and Owen McKinstry matchup because Walker is the most sure-handed player for Missisquoi. Just does not get frazzled, has seemingly no sense of panic when there are players on him. And McKinstry, conversely, is one of the best high school basketball defenders that you're going to see, certainly in this county and at that division within the state, I would say. And so it's really an exciting matchup. And then you add in the fact that it's overtime and a 2-point contest, and it's just a great moment, great matchup between these two teams and several great players.
And I mean, from the coach's perspective, that's exactly the matchup that you want, right? From MVU trying to run down clock, you know that Owen McKinstry is going to be on the ball handler. You want Patrick Walker, who, like you said, is so sure-handed against a defender like that. But then on the other side, you want your best defender on the ball handler, and that's Owen McKinstry. And so it's just such an even matchup there.
Power finds Unwin. 25 seconds to play. He's being guarded by Kane. Drives in, outside to Walker. Walker again, guarded by McKinstry.
It's now Enosburg.
And the foul, I don't think was McKinstry. Perhaps it was.
That's the thing with time ticking down. You have to wonder when Enosburg was going to start fouling.
And under 20 seconds is when they did. The 3rd personal foul on Owen McKinstry. And we'll see if Walker can be just as clutch near the end of this first overtime period as he was at the end of the 4th quarter. A perfect swish.
Well, and notice
from
here,
Walker.
MVU playing a little bit of prevent defense right now. Unwin, I mean, one of the taller guys on the team not down there to try to get a rebound. He's over down on the other end, just trying to give some sort of defensive stop in case Enosburg gets the rebound and rushes it down to the other way.
Where's a pin to drop when you need one? 2 complete swishes for Walker, and for Enosburg, Daniel Antelon coming in, replacing Blair Archambault. I think Enosburg is expecting to be fouled, so they want a good free throw shooter in. For Missisquoi, Ian Digby checked into the contest a moment ago, as did Hazen Luno. And Digby on Gleason. Gleason is searching for a window and called for the travel.
MVU played that one perfectly. They knew that they didn't have to, 2-possession game. They're up by 4. That it's okay if Enosburg does get a quick basket, assuming MVU is going to get fouled again. MVU just said, don't foul. Whatever you do, keep the clock running. And in this case, Gleason expected the foul, but didn't get it, and so resulted in the travel. MVU played it perfectly.
Sean Power inbounding, finds Walker, and Enosburg trying to foul. Finally, a foul is called.
And that's
Shea Horrigan.
Within 10 seconds, you can't even really wait if you're Enosburg to try to force that turnover. You try to force the turnover on the pass and bounds, and as soon as it gets in bounds, you need to foul.
Again, I believe the foul on Shea Horrigan. Yet to see on the scoreboard. Yes, his third. So Walker back at the line, where a moment ago he sunk 2. Well, now that it's a 2-possession game,
They've got some margin for error.
Not close enough for his liking, I guess.
He needs a little more pressure, Wesley. This is child's play.
1 possession or bust. All 25 of us in here silent during the free throw as that one goes in and out and officially out, and either a foul or on the line a timeout.
Enosburg called timeout. 7.1 to go.
Matthew Walker is claiming that nobody had possession. I think he's got a great claim that the ball was being bounced around, but the FAR official was the one who blew the whistle, and he seems in no mood to change his mind. But it's interesting here, looking at it from both perspectives. I completely think that Matthew Walker is correct, that there shouldn't have been a timeout called. On the other hand, while Walker was out protesting that call, Lovelet had his team gathered up and got 30 seconds that Walker didn't to tell his team what to do. Take the opportunities that you can get.
I honestly thought the call at first was in the scramble for the ball. It looked like an Enosburg player had a foot out of bounds and touched the ball. So I actually thought that they were calling it out of bounds on Enos.
I thought the same. So great. And, you talk about Lovelet's track record prohibits real criticism.
Yep.
And he showed it right there. That was a savvy move from him.
But if the referees needed to take the replay, they could log on to Facebook real quick onto our feed and check it out.
Good pass from Gleason, somehow not stolen away, but not able to sink. And a quick follow-up from Archambault falls to make the final score 57-55. A win for Missisquoi after trailing by 10 points in the second half. Enosburg showing amazing resilience. They trailed by 9 early. And Bryce, now that MVU has come back and claimed the victory, who do you say is the Showtime player of the game?
Well, I suppose we got to give it to Gabe Unwin, right, as their leading scorer. Although, Patrick Walker, I think, took things over a little bit in the overtime.
I think, for me, Patrick Walker was able to get the basket that forced overtime and the free throws that clinched the victory. Unwin, the double-double machine, was an integral part, but I think for
Cut
me,
the shirt in half.
for me, Walker was the finisher.
All right, let's give it to Walker.
And again, JC Image, the proud sponsor of that one. Bryce, do you want to do some final stats for us?
Sure, I'll give you some final tallies for the Thunderbirds. Gabe Unwin led the team with 19. Patrick Walker with 18 in that big overtime period. For Enosburg, Devin Gleason with a heck of a game had 21. Owen McKinstry had 12, and Shea Horrigan had 10.
Once again, make sure to follow Northwest Access and like us on Facebook. We've got 3 local sporting events for you tomorrow, and we want to make sure that you don't miss any of the fun throughout the remainder of the season. For Bryce Batchelder, I have been, continue to be, and always hope to be Wesley Kempton. Alan, our videographer today, doing an amazing job on the sound and the camera. And thank you also for those of you tuning in at home. It's been an unusual couple of months, and we're proud to give you a little bit of normalcy and return Franklin County sports to the comfort of your home. So until next time, final score, MVU 57, Enosburg 55. So long and good night.